Well, hi, ready to go? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. I'm going to open up the floor for nominations. Since it's been a year since the public here as well, since it's been a year for our last meeting on a yearly basis, we appoint our chair and vice chair. Since we haven't had a meeting within the last year, we're going to be taking care of some of that business tonight. So if I'd like to open up the floor for nominations for chair. Mr. Galloway?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Steve Cousins for the chair.
Steve Cousins, do we have a seconder for that nomination? Burton Bickle? Thank you. Are you okay with the nomination? Thank you. All in favor?
Should I note?
What's that?
Supposed to note, nominations closed? Or does it matter?
Yes, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the nomination stand. Nomination is on the floor. Do we have any other nominations for chair of the committee? None? Okay.
So the recommendation,
So the recommendation is the chair for the committee of adjustment will be Mr. Stephen Cousins.
effective today,
Today.
until
Until, sorry, let me stick to my notes that everybody can hear. So effective December 26, 2025 to November 14th, 2026. Okay, so can we get an appointment? Since the floor is closed for nominations for chair, I'll open up the floor for nominations for vice chair. Do you have any nominations?
Can I nominate Mike Bolton, please?
Mike Bolton. Do we have a seconder for that nomination? Burton, thank you very much. Mr. Bolton, you wish to stand within that position?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Are there any other nominations for the vice chair? Not seeing none, can I call the motion, appointment for vice chair? Thank you very much. So that Mike Bolton be appointed as vice chair for the committee of adjustment effective November 26, 2025 to November 14, 2026. The reason the end date is because we have the election coming up. There'll be a new committee at that time. So that's why that 1 year, and that's why we're stating for that. I'll turn it over to the chair, Mr. Moses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feller. So the next order of business is appointment of deputy secretary treasurer, and there's a recommendation that Jenna McCartney be appointed as deputy secretary treasurer for the committee of adjustment to replace Grant when he's not here.
Morgan Dykstra.
Morgan Dykstra.
Correct.
Morgan Dykstra doesn't work here anymore though.
Correct.
But does she not replace you when you're not here, Jenna?
Correct.
Right.
Sorry. Can we go back to the original question?
Okay. So the point was Jenna's being proposed as an appointee
Correct.
for the deputy secretary treasurer.
Correct. To act in my absence.
Right. Okay.
Do you need a nomination? Because
Yes, we
if
do.
so, I nominate.
Yes. Here we go.
Seconder. By Mr. Bolton seconding it. Any discussion? Are there any further nominations? Declare the nominations closed. Will all in favor? Declare the motion carried. Gentlemen, any declarations of pecuniary interest? No. Amendments and approval of the agenda. Everybody's had a chance to take a look at the agenda as presented today. Any discussion? Any questions? Good to go. So I'll look for a motion to approve the agenda by Mr. Bickle, second by Mr. Galloway. Any further discussion? All in favor? Declare the motion carried. Acceptance of minutes. Did we have a chance to look at the minutes from a year ago? Mr. Galloway?
Yes, no.
You moving to,
Yes. I
moving to approve? Seconder? Mr. Bolton? Any discussion? All the question, all in favor? Declare the minutes be approved by, have been approved by the committee. So, on to the main work of the night. The First application is DEV 35-2025 application for consent to sever for 16 Hillside Court. Mr. Stone, can we take that off on the screen?
Take that off?
No, not you, Mark. It's,
Oh.
there was a banner on the top.
Oh.
Would you like to tee it up for us?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an application by the owner of 16 Hillside Court that's owned by the Grace Community Church. The property is irregularly shaped. It's shown on the location map on the screen. It's about 0.84 hectares and is outlined in blue. The applicant is proposing to sever about 0.27 hectares from the north part of the Grace Community Church property to be added to 11 Kane, which is shown in red on the plan. The applicant has been working with the town for some time now, starting with a zoning bylaw amendment application that I'll speak to in a little bit more detail. But the owner of 11 Kane and the future northern lands to be severed are proposed to be developed for 44 apartment units in 4 buildings, and they would also have 65 parking spaces. The subject property, subject lands are designated residential according to the official plan. And as I mentioned a second ago, there was a zoning bylaw amendment application submitted for 11 Kane, and the northern lands proposed to be severed and added to 11 Kane. Council passed the zoning bylaw amendment number Z160-2025 on August 26th. And that amended those lands, as shown here, to a residential zone 5-19 zone. And that would facilitate the proposed land conveyance that's before the committee tonight, and also the proposed development of apartment buildings and parking area and so on. The proposed development will contribute to the town's intensification targets and the goal of providing a range of housing forms and affordability and densities. Through the review of the zoning bylaw amendment application, the town determined that the zoning, the frontage, depth, size of the proposed lots would be sufficient to accommodate the proposed residential development, and also the continued operation of the Grace Community Church on the retained lands. There were no town department, agency, or public comments received in response to the circulation of this application for consent to sever. But as I noted in the report, there were some comments that were received as part of the review of the zoning bylaw amendment application. Some of those issues dealt with traffic, stormwater drainage, stormwater management issues on adjacent properties, tree removal, privacy and noise impacts, the safety of Kane Street. Through that zoning review process, many of those issues were addressed, and some of those issues will be addressed at through a future site plan application. I just want to go to the recommendations that I had in my report. After the report was published, the applicant contacted us and asked for some modifications to the recommendations. What I'm showing here are the 2 conditions of the proposed consent that we've considered and would agree can come out of the approval or the conditional approval if approved this evening. First of all, cash in lieu of parkland. They've asked that that be deferred until the site plan stage. Under the Planning Act, municipalities could take parkland as parts of as conditions of a plan of subdivision, consent, or site plan approval. And they've asked that that be dealt with at the site plan approval stage, and I have no issue with that. And then secondly, the requirement for 1 boulevard tree per lot. through the site plan approval process, there will be landscape plans proposed for the proposed development. And so the applicant has asked again that that be dealt with at the site plan approval stage. And I think that's more than reasonable. So I'm recommending that conditions 3 and 4 be removed from the recommendation in my report. And that's my overview, Mr. Chair.
So now I'll invite the applicant or agent to speak to the application. Carolyn Bakers.
She's just joining virtually here and she's admitting.
Okay.
Can you hear and see us okay?
Yes, thank you. My apologies.
We see her. Hi, Carolyn. Good evening. You're with the St. Mary's Committee of Adjustment for the meeting, as you know, for your application.
Correct.
My name's Steve Cousins. My name's Steve Cousins. I'm the chair. So we've asked you to, Mr. Stone, I don't know if you probably didn't hear Mr. Stone's commentary or tee up of your application. But would you like to speak to the application now?
No, I appreciate the opportunity. And just for background, Caroline Baker from Baker Planning Group. I don't have any further comments. The town was very collaborative in preparing the application and the recommended conditions. We've had an opportunity to review and have no concerns with what's been presented by staff or the conditions.
Very good. So since you're up now with Mr. Stone, I'll ask the committee if they have any questions for either you, Carolyn, or Mark. Yeah, Mr. Galloway.
Yeah, Mark, are these two parcels are being merged, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, so that northern parcel, the 0.27 hectares, is being taken off the north part of the Grace Community Church and would then be consolidated, merged with the 11 Kane Street property.
Because we don't want floating parcels that are not attached. But
That's one reason. Yeah, there are a number of reasons for that, but yes, correct.
But is that not made a condition of the application of the 7th? I just remember in my old days, that's what we used to do.
I think condition number 5 deals with that. So that speaks to what has been approved and that the description and the deed transfer is in compliance with the approval. So I think that covers it.
You used to do that, you had to do an application for consolidation. That's what we used to do. But
Okay.
if that's not something that we do now.
No, we haven't. Yeah. No, it's a good question. We'll look at that for future applications, but in other land conveyance applications, we haven't had that as a condition, but it's dealt with through through the lawyers and the approval process.
Okay.
I could also answer that through the chair if it's acceptable as well. Certainly appreciate your comment to ensure that we're not creating a lot that's sort of floating in the middle of nowhere. But certainly if it was not a lot addition, that portion to be severed would not meet the zoning bylaw, which would require frontage. So that would inhibit that from occurring as well, just to further Mr. Stone's comments.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Any other questions for Mark Stone or Caroline? Mr. Bolton? No. I guess the only question I have, and the town's probably looked at this already and probably would dealt with the site plan. Just that there seems to be a lot of potential traffic coming on Kane Street at the top of the hill. That to me is a public safety issue. So what's your thought on that, Mark?
Well, and so through the zoning bylaw amendment application, the traffic impact study, some of the engineering submissions, there were actually quite a few meetings and discussions between the Planning Advisory Committee meeting and the council approval. And so there have been a number of measures that have been put on the table and that the applicant has agreed to address potential traffic issues coming down Kane. And that also pertains to, I think maybe this is what you're speaking to, is in the winter because of the grade and cars coming down. So signage, lighting, and other measures have all been agreed to by the applicant. They've agreed to cost sharing for implementing any of those changes, because, and I say cost sharing because obviously the Kane Street situation is an existing situation, but the developer and the town have agreed to cost sharing any measures, any works that need to be installed, and those will be formalized at the site plan approval stage and through a site plan agreement that will specify what needs to be done, and the town will require any securities and what have you, including the cost sharing payments to deal with that.
Through the chair, was there any, just none of the imaging shows where that entrance to the parking lot is? I'm assuming that parking minimums are met. Has there been any discussion about moving that entrance further south along Kane Street to get it even closer to the top of the hill, or is it already at the top of that, in proximity to where that steep road goes down to Queen? Like it looks like there's still another 10 feet that it could move to the back of the property. Was that considered at all, or does it make a difference when you look at the grade?
Sorry, and I'm just trying to, just give me a second here, get the actual site plan so I can share it on the screen.
I can try and assist as well, Mr. Stone, if that
Yeah,
helps.
go ahead. Yeah, thank you.
Certainly, the driveway entrance has been pushed as far south as it can with respect to the ownership. The access location, the amount of parking, and the safety of the access was considered through a traffic impact study prepared by a professional transportation engineer. It was reviewed, commented, and revised as part of the zone change application that was approved. The driveway does have some setback to the property line, largely to ensure that either a fence or some buffering can be provided to the neighbor, as you'll see in that image, but it is the minimum of 1 meter, which is about 3.3 feet. So we, because of the parking on the south side and the driveway, that is as far south as it could be pushed, but it was deemed to be safe through the traffic impact study.
Yeah, and through you, that covers everything. Thank you, Caroline. This was the best case scenario for, given the circumstances proposed.
Any questions? I'll ask the public, the gallery, if there's any questions from the gallery. And I should, in terms of protocol, I should let people know that at this point, if you're asked, given an opportunity to speak, you have to come to the podium, identify yourself by name and your physical address for the record, and speak and direct your comments through the chair. Are there any comments on this application? No. So last chance for the committee. Anything else? Mr. Bolton, you look like you want to say something.
Only that I was already a part of the bylaw change on the other committee, and the proposal is really good. Other than a little bit of issue with the traffic on King Street and the slippery hill that already exists, I'm happy with it.
Any further? We done? So is committee prepared to make a recommendation? You are, Mr. Galloway?
Yes, in accordance with the recommendation, subject to the deletion of those two conditions.
Do I need to read the?
You do, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so do we have a seconder for the motion? Mr. Bolton. So it's been moved by Mr. Galloway, seconded by Mr. Bolton, for the application for consent for the Grace Community Church care of Group 40 Inc. and Baker Planning Group application number BO2-2025, affecting a parcel of land municipally known as 16 Hillside Court and 11 King Street in the town of St. Mary's, for the purpose of conveying a parcel of land to 11 King Street, be approved as the severance proposal conforms to the policies of the official plan, subject to the following conditions. Number one, the certificate of the official must be issued by the Secretary Treasurer for the Committee of Adjustment within a period of 2 years from the date of the mailing or the notice of decision. Number two, confirmation from the town's Treasury Department that their financial requirements have been met. Number three, the committee must be provided with a description that's consistent with the application equal to that required for registration of a deed or transfer or other conveyance of interest of land under the provisions of the Registry Act or Lands Title Act. And number 4, confirmation be received from the solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. Any further discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Declare the motion carried. So I think you probably understand there's probably a 20-day appeal period now. Caroline?
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, you're good.
Have a good evening.
Thank you. So I missed the precursor stuff because we're a little out of sequence here in terms of the. So we'll go to the development number 36 dash 2025 application for consent to sever a minor variance for 30 William. No, that's 30 William. That's the last one. Sorry.
9.2 on the list.
Page 6 of 12.
Yeah, got it. Thank you. So the next one is DV 34-2025 application for consent to sever for 178 Thomas Street. Notice that the complete application and committee of adjustment meeting was given by first-class mail to the owners of all properties within 60 meters of the subject lands and to those agencies prescribed by the regulation and signage. Advertising tonight's meeting was posted on subject lands. These subject lands for the application being considered this evening. Special instructions for attending this meeting and or providing comments were provided in the notice. It could also be found on the town's current planning development applications webpage and on the events detail webpage for the meeting. During the meeting, the committee will invite members of the public who are in attendance to the gallery to comment or pose a question regarding the application being considered. For the committee's information, there was no correspondence received in advance of publishing the agenda. This was precursor information I should have started the meeting with. So about this application for 178 Thomas Street, Mark, would you like to tee it up?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. The property's bounded by Thomas Street and Park Lane, as you can see on the plan, and Ontario Street south is to the west. The property is about 980 square meters in size. It has about 20 meters of frontage on Thomas and just under 50 meters of frontage along Park Lane. So there's an existing single attached dwelling on the property. There's also an existing single attached garage along Park. And there's an existing access to the site from Thomas Street. The official plan designates these lands as residential. And on October 14th of this year, council passed bylaw Z161-2025 to facilitate this proposed severance, which I'll detail in a few minutes. And so the zoning of the property is residential zone 2, R2-11A, and R2-11B. And the differences, the subcategories, are addressing different performance standards or regulations that apply to these differently sized lots. So the owner is proposing to sever the lot into 2 lots as shown on the plan. The applicant is proposing to relocate the existing garage and the driveway from these locations along the north property line to the south part of the property. It's showing the current situation as it is today. And then the applicant is proposing to build a single attached dwelling on the new severed lot, the western lot. The OP, the official plan, sets out planned road widths for all roads in the town. Park Lane is classified as a local road, while Thomas is an arterial road. And so when a road allowance does not meet the planned road widths in the official plan, the town requires land to be conveyed along those frontages at the time of planning applications, in this case, at the consent application. So I've included in the report and in the recommendations a condition that widenings be conveyed 3 meters along Thomas and 2.5 meters along Park at the time of final approval of any consent. And the chart at the top of this slide shows the proposed lot sizes. And as you can see, once the road widenings are taken, the retained lot and the severed lot are reduced in size. But the zoning that was approved by council recently has considered those changes, those reduced lot sizes, and has accounted for that in the applicable zoning. Last thing I want to say is that there have been no town department, agency, or public comments in response to the circulation of this consent application. However, I did include a summary of a few comments that were received as part of the zoning bylaw amendment application. If you allow to discuss any of those, we can. They're provided attachment 3 of the report. But again, we received no public, town, or town department or agency comments in response to this consent to sever application. So just to summarize, it's my opinion that the proposed severance meets the objective of providing more housing in the town through a more compact form. It will use existing infrastructure like existing roads and sewer and water infrastructure. And it has been determined through the review of the zoning bylaw amendment application that the proposed lot sizes are large enough to accommodate single detached dwellings with amenity space, parking, green space for drainage, and so on. And that's my overview, Mr. Chair.
The recommendation here, Mr. Stone and Mr. Brower, is different than the recommendation I have in the notes. So have we deleted something from this recommendation as well?
No, this recommendation is not changed, and it actually continues on to 2 pages, but there are no changes to this recommendation.
Okay, there's a second page, that's fine.
Yeah.
Good, so I'll ask the, who's going to speak to the application? Online. And what's the name?
Aaliyah Richards.
Can we pop it up so we can see the agent, please?
Are you able to turn your video on so we can see?
Yeah,
Mine?
sure. I'm just a little sick right now, so excuse my my appearance. But good evening, everyone. Committee members, staff, and members of the public. My name is Aaliyah Richards, and I'm a planning consultant with Zelenka Prima Limited, and I'm representing the property owner on this application. I'd like to start by thanking staff for their efforts in processing this application. And we have reviewed the staff report and are in agreement with the recommendations as well as the conditions set forth as a part of this application. We respectfully request that the committee endorse the staff recommendation to approve the requested severance. Thank you for your time, and I'm available to answer any questions.
So if there's nothing else, you guys are going to let the agent. Okay. So does the committee have any questions on the application from either Mr. Stone or the agent?
Mr. Chair, through the chair, plans for the garage and movement of the garage, are they ever listed as conditions where the movement of the garage needs to meet required setbacks? Anything within, like what follow-up is done to ensure that the existing garage sits appropriately in the south, in the correct corner at the right distance?
Well, in discussions with the client about this, we've kind of determined that it's not feasible to actually kind of uproot the garage and relocate it to the south. So it is very likely that it will simply be demolished. And if a new garage is constructed there, it will have to go through the permit application to ensure appropriate setbacks. So, yeah, that's likely the plan for it, is that it will be just taken away off the property.
And to add to that, I echo those comments. The garage is actually located in the road allowance that will be taken off of Park. And so it'll have to be moved and before the final consent is granted. And secondly, the driveway that's off of Thomas that's proposed to be relocated. It has to be relocated because it's also partially in that road allowance.
But it doesn't need to be listed as a condition of the approval.
No, I don't think so. I think it's covered off in the approval that's before you.
Any questions? I don't have a question on the file either. So once again, to the public, is there anybody from the public that would like to speak to this or have a question? No, so no one from the gallery wants to comment on this. So I guess we're at the point of question in terms of the application. I'll read the recommendation this time and then we can decide if you want. The recommendation to the application for consent to 2398315 Ontario Limited, Scott McIntosh, application number B01 2025, affecting a parcel of land municipally known as 178 Thomas Street in the town of St. Mary's for the purpose of severing a lot into 2 lots be approved as the severance proposal conforms to the policies of the official plan, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, a certificate of official must be issued by the Secretary Treasurer for Committee of Adjustment within a period of 2 years from the date of mailing of notice of decision. Number 2, confirmation of the town's Treasury Department that their financial requirements have been met. Number 3, the owner pay a 5% of value as cash in lieu of parkland pursuant to Section 51 of the Planning Act. Number 4, the owner make payment to the town for 1 boulevard hardwood tree for each lot as per the town's tree planting policy. Number 5, that the owner prepares a reference plans to the satisfaction of the town of St. Mary's Engineering and Public Works Department showing a 3-meter wide road allowance parallel to Thomas Street for the extent of the Thomas Street frontage of 178 Thomas Street, and B, a 2.5 meter wide road allowance parallel to Park Lane for the extent of Park Lane frontage of 178 Thomas Street. And further, those lands identified in reference plans as the 3 meter and 2.5 meter wide road allowances be conveyed to the town of St. Mary's. And number 6, the committee must be provided with a description that's consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of a deed/transfer or other conveyance of interest in the land under the provisions of the Registry Act or Land Titles Act. Number 7, confirmation be received from the solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. Is there a mover for this recommendation? Mr. Galloway, seconder. Mr. Pickle. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Declare the motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's being moved to the next application. Are you Caitlin?
Yes.
Okay, hi. So the next order of business is development or DEV 36-2025 application for consent to sever and minor variance, 2 applications for 30 William Street. Notice of the complete applications and the Committee of Adjustment meeting was given by first-class mail to the owners of all properties within 60 meters of the subject lands. For those agencies prescribed by regulation, and signage advertising tonight's meeting was posted on the subject lands for the application being considered this evening. Special instructions for attending this meeting and providing comments were provided in the notice and can also be found on the town's current planning development applications webpage and on the events detail webpage for the meeting. During the meeting, the committee will invite Members for the public who are in attendance in the gallery to comment or pose a question regarding the application being considered during the point of the meeting where we do that. I think you've seen it earlier. And once again, it will be with name, with address at the podium. And I would also advise that we have written comments already. Let's not regurgitate the written comments. So if there's something new that we haven't seen with the committee, bring those points forward if you do have points like that. For the committee's information, the town did receive written submissions, as I just mentioned, in advance of the meeting, which we're aware of. Town's planner will provide a summary of comments received. First, I guess we'll get down to business, Mr. Stone, and maybe you can tee up the application.
Yes, I will, Mr. Chair. And I'll spend a little bit more time on this. We've had a fair amount of community interest in this application, so I'll be detailing those comments as we move forward. So the subject property, well, first of all, we have applications for consent to sever for the establishment of reciprocal easements that I'll detail in a minute, and also minor variance. The approximately 882 square meter subject property fronts onto the west side of William Street, just north of Queen. As you can see, there is an existing single detached dwelling on the north part of the property. The remainder of the property is largely green space or vacant, and there is a driveway in the middle of the lot frontage. So the property is designated residential according to the official plan. The residential designation permits a wide range of residential forms, and the zoning of the property is residential zone 3, and that residential zone permits a wide range of housing forms, including single detached dwellings and others. So the applicant, the property owner, is proposing to sever the subject property into 2 lots that are about the same size and with equal frontage. What's proposed is to demolish the existing house and then build a single attached dwelling on each of the 2 new lots. And each single attached dwelling would have 2 accessory apartments. There is a shared 3.5 meter wide driveway that's proposed to be located between the 2 dwellings that would straddle the mutual property line and would provide access to 4 parking spaces at the back of each proposed lot. And then associated with that, the applicant is requesting reciprocal easements for each of the severed and retained lots to facilitate mutual vehicular access and maintenance of the shared driveway. So that could include actual maintenance of the pavement, snow shoveling, and so on. So the minor variance has been submitted to address certain regulations equally on both lots. I'll just read these out. The first relief that's being requested is a minimum lot area, and these apply to both lots, of 440 square meters, whereas the zoning bylaws minimum is 555 square meters. A minimum lot frontage of 12.4 meters, whereas the minimum required is 15 meters. A maximum gross floor area ratio of 74%, whereas the maximum permitted is 70%. A maximum of 3 dwelling units per lot, whereas the maximum permitted is 1 dwelling per lot. Permit 2 accessory apartments within a single detached dwelling with a maximum gross floor area of 105 square meters per unit, where the maximum permitted is 1 accessory apartment. And permit a minimum lot depth of 35 meters, whereas the minimum permitted is 37. And I should note on that last item, there's going to be no change to the lot depth. That's the existing depth today, but this is to recognize that situation. Now, one thing I want to speak to is with respect to the regulations and the relief being requested regarding the number of units per lot. It should be, first of all, noted that the R3 zone already permits 2 units per residential lot. So in the case of if a single detached dwelling is built, the zoning bylaw specifies that one accessory apartment is also permitted. However, there have been changes through provincial legislation. A lot of the legislative changes over the past few years have been to encourage municipalities to promote and allow for as much additional housing to address the housing affordability crisis in the province. There have been changes recently to the Planning Act and to applicable regulations that make 3 units per lot permitted as of right in Ontario. Now, it's subject to certain requirements, like they have to be urban lots. There are certain restrictions, but if any zone, essentially the legislation says that if there's any zoning regulations that are in place or approved that limit the number of units to less than 3, they're of no effect. So the minor variance that's before you is required to address the regulations that have been referenced, like the lot frontage and lot area and so on. And the increase from 2 to 3 units is essentially to address the limit that's currently in the zoning bylaw, so there's no ambiguity. Again, changes to the Planning Act that are in effect have essentially overridden zoning bylaws to permit 3 units per residential lot as of right, again, subject to certain parameters. And so at the end of the day, municipalities cannot use zoning powers to ban additional residential units outright, or have zoning provisions that would prevent what's authorized by the province in terms of the number of units that can be on a residential lot. So I just wanted to point that out, and we can talk about that a little bit further if there are any questions later on. So we've received a number of comments, and this will take a few minutes, but I want to go through them because residents have been involved and have expressed their comments, concerns, and suggestions. But I will start with agency comments. The Upper Thames River Conservation Authority has no objections and has stated that the applications are not affected by any regulations made pursuant to Section 28 of the Conservation Authorities Act. Bell Canada has indicated that they would like a blanket easement to protect existing buried facilities, supply services to the properties, and to maintain service in the area. And if it's not a blanket easement, a 3-meter wide utility corridor is required, measuring 1.5 on either side of the center line of the buried installation, and to extend to a minimum of 1 meter past any pedestal installation. And Bell finally says that all costs associated with the transaction are the responsibility of the landowner, the applicant. Now we move into the public comments. And just I think this was mentioned earlier. All of the comments verbatim as submitted were provided to members of the committee. They have them. They're also provided to the applicant. What I'm providing to you is somewhat of a summary, just in the interest of time and so on. But I just wanted to make it clear that these comments have been provided by the committee and the applicant. Let's start with Amy Cubberly of 27 Selena Street North. It starts off by saying that she welcomes much needed infilling housing in the neighborhood, but the properties at 19, 27, and 33 Selena Street North have ongoing issues with pooling water in the backyards, which has led to flooding basements. Based on the concept plan, sees potential for this to be exacerbated with a hard surface parking lot, and snow clearing of the rear parking lot leads to a snowbank forming along the rear property line that could then melt into the Selena Street yards. Ms. Cubberly is also looking for assurance that a grading stormwater snow management plan for 30 William will ensure that all water is directed towards William Street and not the rear of the properties on Selena, and that snow will not be cleared towards the rear property line. We also received a detailed submission from Ruth Robinson of 34 William Street. Ruth is not in favor of a major reduction in the lot size from 550 to 440 square meters. not in favor of the maximum of 3 dwelling units per lot, and would prefer a maximum of 2 units per lot or not sever, and the possibility of 1 4 dwelling unit maximum with a single detached dwelling on the current lot. Concerned with the number of proposed parking spaces, lack of necessary parking spaces leading to more on-street parking. Has requested that the minimum lot depth required by zoning of 37 meters be maintained. Concerns with the shared laneway component of the proposal, different ownership, maintenance issues. Green space area, Ms. Robinson has indicated that green space area appears to be very limited for a residential area. Parking and snow removal may become problematic for both the town and neighboring properties. And lastly, has requested a catch basin in the parking area to address drainage and fencing around the parking area rear yard to prevent the pushing, piling of snow onto adjacent lots and to prevent parking on lot lines of adjacent lots. Troy and Karen Payne of 20 William Street. They also appreciate the need for affordable housing, but have indicated that the proposed changes would not reflect the residential nature of the neighborhood. They have significant concerns regarding how the proposed increase in population density will impact infrastructure and the residential feel of the neighborhood, and has suggested that the applicant should adhere to the current zoning bylaw that permits a maximum of 1 accessory apartment per residential lot. Property drainage, 20 and 30 William Street experience extensive backyard flooding several times a year. Loss of permeable ground and added paved parking lot without a water drain could be catastrophic to our property. And they also provided photos with examples of flooding issues. And again, those were provided to members of the committee. The Paynes are also concerned that aging infrastructure is not adequate to support the addition of 6 new units. And they indicated that they already experience low water pressure. And the Paynes also indicated that children play ball on the road, and the increased traffic and potential vehicles parked on the street will create a dangerous environment. They've indicated that they see a substantial loss of existing green space and the possible loss of 2 mature trees. And they're concerned with the impact on the environment, wildlife, and visual appeal of the neighborhood. Concerned with the height of the proposed buildings, and have indicated that it does not complement the aesthetics of the street, where 67% of the homes are bungalows. Asked if the current proposal includes privacy fencing between the new buildings and the adjacent properties, and has asked if there's a plan for snow removal, and has indicated that the proposed parking for 4 vehicles per lot and a shared driveway seems challenging. Ann McNeil of 33 Salina Street North commends the applicant for taking on this infill housing project. With respect to 1927 and 33 Salina, as similarly indicated, ongoing issues with pooling in backyards and flooded basements. Indicated that she invested $7,000 for an outdoor sump pit. There's a potential for problems to worsen with proposed hard surface parking lot and snowbanks. Requesting assurance that a grading and stormwater snow management plan will ensure that all water is directed towards William Street and not the rear of the properties on Salina. Has suggested that the building should be pushed back and put the parking in the front like a normal house. Reduce parking spaces from 8 to 6. And Ms. McNeil shared an alternative design for the site, which again has been shared with the committee. Ms. McNeil has requested an amendment to condition 6 to read, in response to these concerns, the town's public works department has confirmed that the issue has been identified and there will be the need for a rear yard catch basin, grading, and possibly other requirements to this issue. And that's those, I think what I read here is that Ms. McNeil is looking for some more certainty in the condition. And then also has asked for another condition that states the owner preparing a grading and drainage plan that is prepared by a qualified professional, example, a professional engineer, to the satisfaction of the town's Public Works Department. So we're into the recommendations now. I think there have been a number of fair comments from the public. I thought maybe I could comment, at least provide some preliminary comments on some of these public comments. I'll make it very brief and then so that we can pass it over to the applicant. I just want to make it clear that I have included a condition to address drainage concerns. The report does detail that we'll likely see a catch basin requirement, the requirement for appropriate grading, and possibly other measures. And I can confirm and assure the resident that the town will not accept any plans or reports that are not prepared by a professional engineer. I don't agree that the reduction from 550 to 440 square meters is that it's a major reduction. The Public Works Department has reviewed the comments and has provided some comments for me to address or help address. With respect to infrastructure, Public Works has indicated that the infrastructure in William Street is adequate to support the development, but has also indicated that if there are homeowners that have water pressure issues, they're strongly encouraged to contact the Public Works Department so there could be further investigations. With respect to traffic concerns, Public Works has indicated that they see a nominal increase in the traffic on the street, and they don't see a dramatic change in traffic volumes or patterns as a result. With respect to trees and green space or the loss of those, any tree removals will be subject to compensation requirements of the town. And according to the applicant's concept plan, 32% of each lot will be maintained as open space. There was some concern about the heights of buildings. And yes, there probably are more bungalows in the neighborhood than two-story, but there are two-story dwellings in the neighborhood. And I should add that the current R3 zoning that applies to the entire neighborhood would permit a two-story on any lot in the neighborhood. So those are just some preliminary comments, and I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Ms. Crowley, would you like to speak to the application?
Yes, through the chair, good evening, everyone. My name is Caitlin Crowley, Senior Planner with Zelinka Priamo. I would like to thank Mark for giving a good detailed presentation. I think he covered off a lot of the points that I wanted to hit. I would also like to thank the neighbors for taking the time to submit letters to the committee. I have reviewed them all. I did also review the staff report and staff recommendation and agree with staff recommendation and conditions as proposed. So I just wanted to add a few things. It is understood that a joint access, use, and maintenance agreement would be required for the property, and any future owner of the property would have to abide by that agreement. Both of the proposed buildings are proposed to have a main floor primary dwelling with 2 parking spaces, and then an upper level accessory apartment and lower level accessory apartment, each with 1 parking space. So typically in a lot of different municipalities and in provincial legislation, parking is not required for accessory apartments. However, given the nature of vehicle traffic and the fact that a lot of St. Mary's residents would have a vehicle, we did want to make sure that at least 1 space was provided per unit. And it is understood that all conditions, including the installation of a catch basin, will be required prior to any building construction on this lot, on either of these lots. And a stormwater management and grading plan can also be provided to show how stormwater management can be managed on site. And like Mark said, we will not be permitted to exacerbate any existing flooding conditions. So all of our stormwater management would have to be maintained on site. So that is definitely understood by the owner. And while currently fencing has not been shown on the provided plan, it has been contemplated by the developer. The decision for fencing and fencing materials and details typically isn't a large topic of conversation in minor variance or consents. However, we are definitely open to fencing in the future. But it may be decided by a future owner of the property. Definitely open to those kind of future discussions. So I am going to leave my business card here for anybody, so that in the future, if you want fencing put up, we can have that conversation at that time. And as Mark stated, the provisions in front of you are primarily for a reduced lot area, increased gross floor area, and reduced lot frontage. Items such as building setbacks, landscape area, height, and parking have been provided in compliance with the zoning bylaw. So by proposing buildings closer to the street with parking at the rear, the idea behind that was to kind of provide a more welcoming and pedestrian-friendly street frontage along William Street, as well as kind of screening the vehicular parking in the rear. Builder would also like the exterior style of the building to be consistent with William Street. He does want this proposal to be a good fit within the town. And I just thank everyone for their feedback tonight, and I will be available to answer any questions and we can have an open dialogue.
After the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we're back to the committee. Any questions? I'm sure there are for Mr. Stone or for Ms. Crowley.
Yeah,
Go
through the chair, I just wanted to talk or ask Mark, I'm just a bit confused about the 3-unit, 2-unit provincial rules. So our bylaws in St. Mary's say 1 unit with 1 apartment, is that right?
That is correct. Yeah, as of today, it was updated a few years ago when accessory apartments became permission under provincial legislation. So it needs to be updated. And as you may or may not be aware, the town has hired a consulting team to update the zoning bylaw. And they will be required to ensure that the zoning of all residential lands are in compliance with the provincial regulations regarding number of units and so on.
Okay, so the province is saying they can override all of our bylaws currently.
Essentially, that's correct. Yes. So if our zoning bylaw doesn't permit 3 units, again, subject to certain criteria, it may be related to parking or lot coverage, certain things that are spelled out in the regulations. But yes, it does essentially override municipal zoning bylaws in the province.
That's my only question for now. Thanks, Mark.
Through the chair, it been brought up by Ms. Crowley. And I do see that condition 6 is owner addresses any stormwater management drainage concerns. You had talked about it, I thought you had said condition of joint building maintenance management program, which isn't outlined as a condition, but it is come up through almost every concern from neighbors is where does snow go on the property? How's it managed on the property? And does that need to be outlined as a condition that it's a joint venture between owners? That snow doesn't end, like there isn't a lot of space on the outside. It could be dealt with. But if it's being dealt with differently by different parties and it ends up on one side of neighbors' yards, I'm just wondering if there does need to be, if not outlined in the plan where they propose to put snow, and there's not a lot of room outside of the parking space in the back.
Mr. Stone or Caitlin?
Yeah, so in terms of the conditions, I thought I recalled something about an easement, potentially not, or are you referring specifically to snow removal?
I don't know whether snow would, sorry, through the chair. I know we talked, like, there is a condition that talks about stormwater management and drainage concerns, but there, and you had referenced snow as a condition. There is nothing in the conditions that specifically calls out building maintenance for snow maintenance, snow removal.
Oh, I see, yeah. So I guess, part of the easement agreement would be for, maintenance of the access way of snow removal, but yes, to your point, there isn't necessarily anything that dictates where the snow would go. So that would probably have to be decided by, likely the future owners or even the current developer would hire a company to remove snow. That would be, the cost of that would be borne on both property owners, and that's what the agreement would be, is that, the responsibility would be on both of them to remove the snow on both properties.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the location, if it does not fit on site, it might have to be considered that the snow be removed, off the property altogether. If there isn't room, again, we don't want to be blocking any parking spaces either, and we don't want to be pushing it to the rear and have it, drain to the rear of the property, so likely it could either be on the north and south, where we've kind of provided those little, inlets.
Yep.
And then drain into the catch basin. But yes, to your point, that may not necessarily be, explicitly mentioned in the agreement in terms of where the snow would go.
I guess I don't know if the town's through the chair, if the town can speak to that at all. It's a repeated concern. I don't know that it's specifically addressed through a condition, and maybe that wouldn't be normally something that you would do. Again, I don't think the building up of snow, as long as people can park, is an issue, and come springtime, if proper stormwater management is there, then it drains properly. Yeah, and maybe through that easement, it is just an agreement. Looks like Mark maybe has something.
Yeah, maybe I can help. You're right. The specific condition doesn't list snow removal. And I know you saw this in the report. I think it's page 38 of the agenda. I do speak to this. So a lot of the lead up to applications like these, there's a lot of pre-consultation. And one of the concerns I had was, if you are going to have a shared access, that it's incumbent on both owners, obviously, to not create a situation where users of the other property are blocked. So that could be because a huge pothole is created. It could be for other reasons, but one of the things I mentioned specifically in the staff report is snow removal. So I think the requirement for the reciprocal easement and any agreement or agreements are covered off, even if not spelled out specifically in the condition. You do raise a good point about the location of the snow removal, and I think that's something that would have to be covered off in the agreement and the terms of that agreement. And of course, that would be to the satisfaction of the town. So I think this requirement covers it, although, for example, the plan doesn't show actual locations for snow storage on the properties.
No.
It is a major concern. I have an equal concern with it as well in terms of the enforceability of any easement agreement with maintenance with the stakeholders after. I think that that's a concern for the neighborhood.
And through the chair, yes, and I think that we can work with Public Works or with Mark to formulate that agreement, right? It does have to be to their satisfaction, so if they're not happy with either how we've outlined how snow removal is going to be addressed, then we can workshop that with them at that time. I think it can be covered off in the agreement, it's just a matter of how, but I think that we can work with them in the future to address that.
So is that, once again, to Mr. Pickle's point, is that something that should be a point in the recommendation, that it has to be to the town has to be agreeable to the maintenance agreement or the easement agreement?
I think, sorry, just give me a second here. Why don't I just share my screen?
While you pull that up, Mark, through the chair, even if we wordsmith, condition number 6 to include snow removal as well, and it fits into to make that just a little more clear, even though we're talking about stormwater management, drainage concerns, because that's a second-hand, third-hand effect of melting snow. It's not, sometimes it's the snow and the movement of it where it locate, sometimes too close to a fence, sometimes too close to a property line, but generally 9 times out of 10, it's the melting of the snow that causes the most issues.
There's a challenge with densification, and you see it in Toronto, you see it in Montreal, in these places where people are compact and they have to get rid of snow.
Yeah.
It becomes a disaster, will be great. So are you recommending that we make an amendment to 0.6?
Through the chair, maybe depending on what Mr. Stone's comments were on my suggestion.
Yeah, so you saw me, I think you can see my screen. I've been flipping back and forth. We could, if the committee is would prefer, we can add some detail here regarding snow removal, snow storage, and so on. Again, when I go to the recommendations for the reciprocal easements, we do have, it does say that this is pertaining to easements for mutual vehicular access and maintenance of the shared driveway. The reason I detailed it in the report is I've had to deal with shared driveways myself years ago and snow removal. And when it's not implemented properly, yeah, it's a pain for everyone. So the applicant for these, this is a provisional approval, like the consent to sever. If the owner cannot show that they can provide easements and easements agreements that can be enforced appropriately without the town having to be the heavy, then the application doesn't get approved. They must meet all of the conditions and requirements of the application. So I think that's where we stand. I'd love to have a lawyer at the table right now who could probably speak to this in a little bit more detail. You know, I think it's clear that these are important matters that have to be dealt with.
What do you think, comments?
No, I agree that if you don't have these things itemized, then if someone decides they don't tend to follow the intention, then good luck. You know, the court's gonna say, well, you should have put it in writing. So, yeah, I think something should be detailed in number 6 somehow, just to itemize that it is in fact snow. I understand snow melts and that's the whole thing, but
You want to think of something, Mr. Stone, that could be an amendment to 6 or an improvement to 6 that we could actually talk about when we get to that point?
Yes, I'm looking at it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other questions from the committee for the applicant or the planner?
I just need my mind cleared on what's the parking space requirement in our bylaw for this zone for one unit? Is it 1.25?
No. So for a single detached dwelling, you need a minimum of 2 parking spaces to start with. And then with any accessory apartment, there's a requirement for 1 per apartment.
Which was where the 4 came from, obviously.
Correct.
But aren't we in fact, I mean, when we do our minor variance, what we're doing is we're saying a minimum of 3 dwelling units per lot instead of 1. Aren't we saying, no, you gotta have 6 spots?
No, it's a maximum. So there's a single attached dwelling, and then there are the accessory dwellings. So they're not 3 single detached dwellings, they're 3 dwellings. The main dwelling, so I understand it's a bit confusing and maybe I didn't make it as clear, but that's the way the zoning bylaw works, is that, yeah, a maximum of 3 dwellings as per zoning and the provincial legislation in the form of a single detached dwelling with 2 accessory apartments is permitted. And based on that, the parking requirement is 2 + 1 + 1.
The reason I'm confused is because when we listed the minor variances in our recommendation, in the bylaw or the motion, we deal with the 3 units, housing units per lot, and then, dwelling units, and then the next one we have 2 accessory apartments. Why are we duplicating that? Why are we having 1 to 3, and then we're saying plus 2 accessory apartments? It makes it sound like we're saying, well, they can have 3 units plus 2 accessory apartments. Now maybe there's a reason for the duplication.
I understand you fully. So this is a bit of an aggravation for myself too. That's why there's a consulting team that's been hired to update the zoning bylaw.
Okay.
So the applicant, and fully understandable, is when they come in for building permit, if this is approved, they want to make sure that nothing in the zoning bylaw is going to trigger the grant, say, whoa, you don't comply with this. Those two variances apply to two different sections in the zoning bylaw. One is where you have a maximum, you're permitted a maximum of one dwelling per lot, unless otherwise permitted in the zoning bylaw. So the applicants, and sorry, I don't mean to speak for the applicants can correct me after if I've said anything incorrectly. That's to address that section, make it clear that a total of 3 units are permitted. And then years ago, we added in the accessory apartment provisions that said with any single attached semi or town, you're permitted 1. So that's why the difference in the first section, you're going from 1 to 3 for clarification. And in the accessory apartment section of the bylaw, a separate section, you're going from 2 to 3. I don't know if I've just confused it more.
Yeah, through the chair, just to kind of clarify too, is those two kind of go in tandem, right? So yes, we're saying that 3 dwelling units are permitted, but by adding the second one, we're essentially saying that 2 of those are gonna be accessory, not necessarily all 3 primary dwelling units, but 2 of them are gonna be accessory instead of just 1.
Good, because if you carried it to a natural extension, there would be 9 units per house. And I just don't think
That's not.
No.
No, but I think those two kind of work in tandem to say that, but like Mark said, it's more so to address 2 sections of the bylaw. So in the future, like, if we try to, basically, let's say we try to apply for 3 main dwelling units, well, that second provision is only gonna say, no, you're only allowed, accessory units.
No, that's common sense, but I know. The only other question I have, Mr. Chairman, through you is to the applicant. And this is nothing to do with these issues we've talked about, but I've always been intrigued by Bell Canada and their involvement in some of these applications. And I take it you have no problem with condition number 5?
No, we ran it by the lawyer and the owner and no issues with condition number 5 and addressing Bell, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, blanket easements are common, and so, yeah, we understand the requirement there.
That you have to pay for.
Yes.
That's what's annoying.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Bolton?
Yeah, I just want to be, through the chair, to have a clear understanding of this. So if this gets approved, there will now be 2 single dwellings owned by one person at first, and then they would sell them off. I guess the developer is gonna own them. They're gonna put them up for sale to a single buyer each, or like someone could buy them both, I guess. But basically, one entity will own each place, and then they are responsible for renting out the units. Is that right?
Through the chair, yeah, and I think there's a variety of ways that they could do this, but yeah, essentially the developer is gonna own both at the start. I believe they do intend to construct the units on both, and then yes, they could sell it to 1 or 2 owners who would then own each of the lots, and then yes, they could either live in it themselves or they could rent it out as well.
So you could own it, but rent, but not live there.
Correct, yeah. But and then the agreement that we had talked about would be the onus of the owner, they would have to abide by that, so, yeah.
No, nothing more.
Mr. Critical. So, we'll ask the members of the public if they'd like to make a comment or ask a question. Like I said, we've seen all the documented comments, so I'd ask if there's new comments or other things that you'd like to talk about. Would you want to approach the podium, please? I know who you are, but you have to tell everybody your name and what you look like.
My name is Anne McNeil. I reside at 33 Salina Street North. I'm intimately familiar with this property. And water issues that I've had to endure for the last 4 years. My concern is, where are they going to put the storm drain?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I wasn't sure there was more follow to that.
So I can chime in here, at this time, we don't know. Up to the chair, we don't know because it's not designed yet. So once the engineer designs it, we'll have a better idea. We don't know if it's gonna go center lot, rear lot, where it's gonna go based
How many
on
there's gonna be.
grading, et cetera, et cetera.
And the only reason I'm questioning this is because the town has been aware of this for a number of years. I myself have had to spend a considerable amount of money to put an outdoor sump pit to mitigate the issue of water in the backyards. I can tell you, and I have video of flooded garage, water coming up to here in my backyard. Being a low, it tends to go along Salina Street on a slow, steady decline. And, I know, Amy Coverly has had to spend $12,000 on a generator to ensure that, her pumps work. So we as residents have spent a lot of money to try and mitigate an issue. And I want to ensure that the drainage comes between William Street and Salina Street, right smack dab at the back of our properties, because that's where the issue lies, and get it out to William. Vic Hearn used to, live down the street from me, lovely man. Has since passed away. He mentioned to me once that there is an underwater stream between William and Salina. We knew about it. The old plumbers in town knew about it. But the town hasn't said anything about it. So maybe there's no documentation to prove that, but Vic lived there many, many years, so he was well aware of what the landscape was. So I just want to, make sure that we're not putting too many people in one small lot, and that the water issue gets addressed, because the people on Salina Street, I no longer wish to, shake in my boots every time there's a massive storm. And that's become my world in the last 4 years. So if that can be addressed, those are my concerns. And I think I speak for many along Salina Street to say the same thing. Those that even couldn't attend tonight's meeting, so. Again, thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee, for listening. Thank you.
Would anyone else in the public like to approach the podium? Yes, ma'am.
Ruth Robinson, 34 William. I am adjacent to the 30 William Street house. I'm not going to be disappointed to see the old house necessarily go down because it's on the lot line, basically. So I felt squished in for a while. However, when I saw some of the plans for this, I was concerned with the building heights. I did put that out in comments, simply because I understood it to be basically a raised 2-story, which does add height. I was told it's still within the limits. A little undaunting somewhat too, I'm prepared with the 2-story to go a little higher, is making it feel like, yes, I'm gonna be living next to an apartment building. And that's my other concern. You're saying that this is a single or a detached dwelling, with more or less likely to be rental units, not an owner with rental units in it. And the fact with the severance and 2 lots and a laneway, we're talking easement, and easements never go well. Down the road, there will be contentious issues happening. We've seen it in many, many cases. where you get two owners who just will not agree on anything. And I'm not sure how this is going to be impacted once you have those properties sold and two different owners. And that was part of the reason why I'm not in favor of the severance portion. I have no problem with a 4-unit type building going up that would blend in and work well with the neighborhood. And still not really compromising, not providing the housing that the provincial legislation is pushing us into. And also this 4 units would definitely not create parking issue that we know will happen. And yes, you're going to provide parking at the back, but it's guaranteed. There's a lot of people out there, 2 cars. And they're gonna be pulling in and parking on that front yard. And it's gonna become a mess. And yes, we have property standards, but that doesn't help on weekends and evenings. Or during the night, during the weather, when you can park on the street overnight, a lot of cars parked and other issues developing from that. So and the drainage, yes, is another big issue. I'm kind of in the lucky side. I don't have too much of a water issue in my yard and that, but I do know it's there, and I'm hoping I don't end up having an issue. And that's why I was asking also for some type of stormwater catch basin, definitely in a parking area at the rear if this goes through. Okay.
Thank you.
Right now, I live at 29 William Street, directly across the street. Basically, everyone here has kind of already gone over anything that I wanted to say. The water issues are a big issue. I do have 3 sub pumps in my small house. It's a 900 to 1,000 square foot home, and I run 3 sub pumps all year round. So when it comes to the wastewater, not the wastewater, the drain water issues and the snow, it is kind of a big deal on that street. I didn't know Salina had the same thing. I thought I just had a really old house, but that is kind of a problem at our place, and we do have to make sure we maintain them and take care of everything. I am concerned too. I know we touched a lot on snow removal and stuff. That if there was snow removal from the property, sharing a driveway and however much parking there is in the back, if that just gets put out on the road and then a plow goes by and pushes it, and lots of older neighbors nearby that don't have the energy or the muscle to take care of that at the end of their driveways, because we're talking either side of that house, we got older folks too, and they might not have, anything like a snow blower or anything, so that'll result in a lot of us neighbors trying to help each other out, but I guess it gets stressful after a while. Just because of snows, I don't think it's just gonna go onto the road and melt and go away. I think it's just gonna get pushed down and be someone else's problem with all that pavement and parking and driveways at the end, so. Anyway, like I said, everyone else pretty much touched on everything else. The parking is also a concern. Basically, all of the parking's taken up as soon as someone rents those places, so. I guess, will these people have visitor parking, or are they gonna have Christmas with their families? If so, will it be at that location? There's literally nowhere to park, and that could cause clog ups on the streets during holiday seasons. We do have a lot of kids on that street as well. If parking's already kind of taken up for that property, then how do these people get to spend time with their families or have guests over, just like everyone else tries to at their own home, right? So, anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else?
What happens then? I'm Brian Bishop, I live down the street. What happens?
What's your address, sir?
45 Wood.
Thank you.
We have a river runs through my backyard. So my neighbor has 3 sump pumps. The lay of the land there is all valley. It on both sides. My concern is Okay. Now, they allow 2 accessory apartments in these buildings. What happens in the future if the province says they can now sell them?
I'm not sure if I understand your question.
What happens if they can sell them? Sever within and sell them? What happens then?
I think that there are 2 properties that we're talking
Yeah,
about, right?
but what, within, there's 3 within.
Sorry, through the chair, like condominium units is what you're talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, so, I mean, tenure of the building is like, anything could happen with anybody's property. But so what's the concern if it is severed within? So there would be 3 separate owners.
That's right. So now you got 3 separate owners dealing with a driveway that's separated by 3 other people. Can you imagine? I watch Fear Thy Neighbor on TV. They shoot each other. We don't need any shooting on William Street. No, I just wanted to bring that. I'm looking toward the future because a year ago, it was designed to have 1 apartment. Now it's 2. Next year it's 3. Then it's sold, like, as a condominium. Then what control does the town of St. Mary's have? We as neighbors, I guess we'll sell and move out to River Road, and live with the equity. I just brought it up.
No, it's a good point, thank you.
Okay, because I've dealt in the city of Stratford with many properties with shared driveways. And it's just a damn fight.
Thank you. You wish to put the community comments? Does the committee have any questions regarding the community comments? For the applicant or Mr. Stone?
Perhaps, Mr. Chairman, I'm being a bit optimistic, but here they are. I mean, this application has been brought. And what's gonna happen is the applicant here is gonna end up having to do a lot of investigation and hiring a lot of professionals and spending a ton of money, and they paid for it. And I think it's worth the fact that they will have to, if you've read paragraph 6, and probably you haven't, but it just simply puts the obligation on them to do all these things to satisfy this stormwater management issue. I know it doesn't have snow in it, and I think something will be done about that. But just because of this application, these people are gonna end up spending all the money. And say, I've heard all the money you've spent. And they're gonna now have it as an obligation, and it'll probably, what you've spent will be minuscule compared to what they're gonna have to spend. So I think it would be a positive for the neighborhood, I really do. And I've seen it happen before, so I know you may think that's overly optimistic, but I think it can be a positive. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Geller. Mr. Wolfen.
Well, I have a few comments, I guess. I'm okay with the big easement and the smaller sizes and the architectural look of the building from the front. I think it will fit in with the neighborhood. There's lots of different houses. I do have some of the commenters' fears about what will happen in the future if we're going to cram this many people into this kind of space. I know that this is probably normal in bigger centers. And living here in St. Mary's, we've got a different perspective on that. There's some things I don't like about this, for sure. But it ticks all the boxes according to the town and the province, so. I guess it's just a comment. I don't have any questions.
Mr.
No,
I share those same sentiments. This is the direction that the province is headed in. I can't imagine that the province is going to retract their direction with intensifying. I know green space comes up a lot. Ultimately, infill is what saves green space in our country and in our planet. And I do want people to remember that intensification keeps the control of a town from going further and further out. So these are the types of applications that I do like to see. But as to my one point, I think it's important that the town and the application does take concerns into, but I also agree with Bill. There could be a way of looking at this as maybe getting a positive outcome from some of the people who spoke here, and it'll come at the expense of the people who have to do the development. So hopefully it could throw some things.
I guess my comments are, and I agree with the other comments as well, and I've had some discussions with people ahead of this application trying to understand where the province is at, and there's no doubt about it, the town has hired a consultant to help us align our zoning bylaw with where the province is at, because it circumvents or it surpasses what we've done historically here. So the act with the province is really the ruling document at this point in time, and it does allow this. So the other items that were like the size, all that stuff, the size of the lot, they are really, I think we would deem to be minor, because we've done lots of applications like that. So that's our problem in terms of consistency. And the thing that we talked about with the snow removal, and the water management's an issue. I think the water issue is, this application's brought it up, and they need to be compliant. They can't make it worse. They have to make it better. But the problem exists already with the underground stream or whatever it is there. It's a hydrological issue that needs to be engineered with the town. It's something that needs to be done with public works and.
Yes, correct. It's something that's, there's an issue there. We've seen historical data we've seen historical pictures. A lot of stuff has come through. But yeah, there's gonna have to be some engineering to what are we doing with that water to make sure, A, there's no issues, and what we make sure that it's not further causing further issues than what it is today. So
the other issue that to me is concern in terms of making the neighborhood right in the future is the severance agreement, because it does create a complication now and in the future. If everybody was wise and reasonable, these things are never problematic, but they can be problematic. And we know what's going to happen here this weekend with snow, for instance, right? This happens in St. Mary's. So snow removal is a key issue. And I think that with stormwater management, it needs to be addressed as a singular item. So it just doesn't get moved around. It's like moving the pieces around the board to the detriment of the neighborhood. So I think that we need some sort of a point in there, Mark. Do you have a recommendation?
Yes, I do. I've modified something. I'm going to share my screen. Again, this is just the first take, but so this is the original condition 6, and what I've added, well, I'll read the whole thing. It now reads, the owner addresses any stormwater management drainage concerns and matters related to snow storage and or removal to be implemented through a reciprocal easement agreement to the satisfaction of the town's public works department.
I think that looks reasonable. How does the committee feel about it?
Yeah.
Okay, we're good with that.
Well done.
So any further questions from the committee about the applications? We have 2 applications, one for consent and one for minor variance. Any further discussion? So I'm going to read, what do you recommend we do the consent first?
Yes. Isn't that what we did? Yes, the consent.
So I'll read the recommendation from the town on this one because it doesn't have the other in it. To start, it's recommendation that the application for consent by RW Homes, application number D03-2025, affecting a parcel of land municipally known as 30 William Street in the town of St. Mary's for the purpose of establishing reciprocal easements between the retained and severed lots to allow for mutual vehicular access and maintenance of the shared driveways be approved as the proposed easements conform to the policies of the official plan subject to the following conditions. 1, the certificate of the official must be issued by the Secretary Treasurer for Committee of Adjustment within a period of 2 years from the date of the mailing of the notice of decision. Number 2, confirmations that the town's Treasury Department, that their financial requirements have been met. Number 3, that the owner pay 5% of the value of the land as cash in lieu of parkland pursuant to Section 51 Planning Act. And number 4, that the owner make payment to the town for 1 boulevard hardwood tree breach lot as per the town's tree planting policy.
You're doing the minor variant.
I'm doing the minor variance.
Yeah, that's what you're doing now.
Okay.
Did you mean to do the consent first?
Yeah, I did. So must have,
I don't know, the pages are
Page
all.
9 to 12?
Yeah.
I thought that's what you're reading.
I'm reading this. Minor variance,
I
oh,
got it.
we have the,
I got souped up notes.
yes, I was reading the soup stuff.
9 to 12.
Page 5 on our, oh, you've got.
I guess because.
You got the video.
So was I reading the wrong one or not?
I think you're reading the
I
right one.
I thought you were just on the 0.5.
0.5, okay.
Yeah.
Secretary Treasurer for the Committee of Adjustment be provided with written confirmation that the concerns raised by Bell Canada
Okay.
in the correspondence dated November 18th, 2025 have been satisfied to the satisfaction of Bell Canada, and further the Secretary Treasurer for the Committee of Adjustment be provided with a copy of the easement agreement. Number 6, the owner addresses any stormwater management drainage concerns and matters related to snow storage and or removal to be implemented through a reciprocal easement agreement to the satisfaction of the town's Public Works Department. Number 7, the committee must be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of a deed/transfer or other conveyance of interest in land under the provisions of the Registry Act, the Land Titles Act, and confirmation be received from the solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. You've heard the recommendation. Do we have somebody to make the motion? Mr. Galloway, seconder. Mr. Pickle. Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Declare the motion carried. We'll move to the second. For the consent. The application for the consent by RW Homes, I'll read the recommendation that the application for consent by RW Homes, application number B03-2025 affecting a parcel of land municipally known as 30 William Street in the town of St. Mary's for the purpose of establishing reciprocal easements between the retained and several lots to allow for mutual vehicular access and maintenance of the shared driveway be approved as the proposed easements conform to the policies of the official plan, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the certificate of the official must be issued by the Secretary Treasurer or the Committee of the Adjustment within a period of 2 years from the date of the mailing of the notice of decision. Number 2, confirmation from the town's Treasury Department that their financial requirements have been met. Number 3, the committee must be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that required for registration of a deed/transfer or other conveyance of interest in the land under the provisions of the Registry Act or Land Titles Act. Number 4, that the solicitor provide an undertaking confirming that the easements will be registered on title to the satisfaction of the town. And number 5, confirmation be received from the solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. You've heard the recommendation. Is someone prepared to make that a motion? Mr. Pickle, seconder. Mr. Galloway. Any discussion? All in favor? Declare the motion's carried. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our decision tonight.
One more.
One more. Minor variance.
What's the other one?
Minor variance.
What page is that on?
It's on the screen. On page 11 as well.
Okay, application of consent to sever easements and minor variances, 30 William Street recommendation. The application for minor variance for RW Homes application A01-2025 affecting land described as 30 William Street in the town of St. Mary's permit a minimum lot area of 440 meters squared where the minimum required is 555 meters squared. a minimum lot frontage of 12.4 meters where the minimum required is 15 meters, a maximum gross floor area of 74% where the maximum permitted is 70%, a maximum of 3 dwelling units per lot, whereas the maximum permitted in one dwelling is 1 unit dwelling unit per lot. 2 accessory apartments within a single detached dwelling with a maximum gross floor area of 105 meters squared per unit, whereas the maximum permitted is 1 accessory apartment. A minimum lot depth of 35 meters where the minimum permitted is 37 meters be approved, subject to the following conditions. Number 1, the approval is granted only if the nature and extent of the application. And number 2, requires building permits shall be obtained within 2 years of the committee's decision, and the failure to comply with and maintain the conditions of the committee will render the approval null and void. For the recommendation, any discussion? Prepared to move, Mr. Galloway. Second, Mr. Bolton, any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Declare the motion carried. So now, that's it for the applicant. So, you know, it's the typical 20-day appeal period, starts as of tomorrow, I guess, Grant?
Right.
Good. And we have one other item to talk about with the committee, another agenda item, right?
Right.
In terms of two.
Good, we got a report and then we got a.
Oh, yeah, and the letter, right? Thank you, everyone.
This evening, yeah. Yes.
You need a planner, is that what you said?
I heard you going somewhere, sir. What's that? Back. Okay. Gotta get a vote. Take care, Dylan.
Good night.
Okay. You just leave it up. You leave it up that way. If you want to talk, yeah, go ahead. So last update, so there's 2 updates. One, has to do with staff report, talks about the new zoning bylaw. And you see some of the challenges that we're having with the zoning bylaw again today, right? Because there's been so much change. First intent of the realigned zoning bylaw is to align with the official plan, town's official plan, to take in any challenges that we've had or any change from the province. And then 3, talk about any challenges that we've had as staff and as for the committee. So there's 4 phases. It's all outlined in the report. Right now they're doing the background, all the background research. Basically, they are talking to staff, talking about where our chinks are, reviewing all our ZBAs, reviewing all our minor variances, and doing all that background information. Once we get to a point where we're going to bring all the recommendations to, we're going to form the plan advisory committee as well as committee adjustment to be a sounding board, saying, hey, these are all the challenges. These are all the changes we want to see. These are all the challenges. These are all the things that we want to do. That's good. These are the things we want to change, and it's going to come up to this committee before we take those to council. So we'll be able to provide recommendation to council, provided on those changes either that are a lot of them do, a lot of them are so.
So you're gonna take the proposal and bring it to both committees? Is that
Correct.
Yeah.
They're gonna sit together, both committees are gonna sit together, and then we'll be able to, vet it.
Yeah.
Okay, there are a number of open houses that we're gonna have as well, reaching out to the public. Again, we're meeting with the building community next week during our tailgate. We're starting some of that already as far as that outreach. We're talking to the BIA just about groups of interest and stuff like that. Mark, what else do you have there?
Yeah, I mean, I have, a couple of slides here. These are the reasons we're updating the zoning bylaw. Won't go into great depth. We have a new official plan, so we do need to address certain issues like development along corridors and what zone changes we should make to anticipate intensification. It's also going to be the opportunity to look at the policies on infill applications like we've had tonight and create some regulations in that regard. So some of these issues are going to be very technical. you may have, and what we're looking from you is, it could be something as simple as you've had an application before you've seen, or applications, and you keep seeing this definition in the bylaw. And it doesn't quite hit it. It needs to be updated. It's hard to interpret, anything like that. Small items, or what you may think are small items, we'd like to hear from you because you have the experience dealing with applications, but also the big ticket issues. We want to hear what are the big issues. And we had an application just a few minutes ago with infill and shared access. What can the zoning bylaw do to anticipate these types of applications better? Other planning act changes, housing is a prime example. Need for a more efficient and user-friendly format. I think we did a consolidation a few years ago, and I think we got halfway there. And so hopefully our consultants will get us to the end. Update the town zoning bylaw, reflect new policies and regulations. Well, yes, there's the official plan, but there could also be provincial policies, but there could also be documents that the other types of documents that the town has approved, like the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. That will have to be in part reflected in the zoning bylaw as far as minimum park sizes and things like that. Reflect emerging issues and trends in community planning. One that came to fruition years and years ago, I kept talking about stacked townhouses, something that had never appeared in St. Mary's, and here it is now. And so we're always looking for what's the next trend and what do we have to anticipate. One of the issues we're dealing with, or going to be dealing with, are pet hotels, kennels. In the good old days, you just had kennels. Now we have pet hotels, kennels, pet breeding, beauty salons. Yeah, I mean, it's, and so these are the kinds of things that we want to get ahead of the game. It may be as simple as providing the right definitions in the bylaw so that when those uses come in and they're not listed in a specific zone, well, they're not permitted. So we want to also deal with some loopholes and some gray areas. And then again, modernize the structure and the format. There are 4 stages. The consultants have been told you have 1 year to finish it, and they're racing ahead right now. I would say that the background review study usually is the most important because it's about identifying the issues. The consultants and staff, and eventually the public and everyone around the table, can hash out what the best resolution is. But if you don't identify the issue, big or small, then it never gets addressed. So there are 4 stages. And at any time, as a committee member or just as a member of the public, you want to provide some comments, just please send them through to Grant and myself. Once the issues have been identified in phase 2, there are actual directions, and the directions are set out. And sometimes there may be 2 or 3 options, and everyone weighs in on that before council directs the consultant team to draft a new zoning bylaw. Those directions will tell the consultants what they need to do as far as the regulations, and that'll happen in phase 3. And there'll be an opportunity to actually look at the new document, provide your comments, and then by about a year from now, we want a new zoning bylaw in effect. That's my.
I think this is all very good, Mark, but I think tonight was a really good example of where we're going with this. And
Yep.
we live in the Happy Valley, in Pleasant Valley. And, if you live in urban areas, stuff that happens all the time. We're going to head for complexity. We're going to head for management issues, social and legal management issues that are going to be problematic. It's okay to say that, yeah, we want to do this because the statement says that, province wants that. But we have to think it through at a different level rather than just say, give us 10 of those, right?
Correct.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. And many of you are probably aware that there are, I don't know how many there are, but there are a number of municipalities that have said, forget 3, we're going to 4. And there are some pretty high profile examples out there if you want to do a little research, where they're allowing 4 as of right. So they've gone beyond the problem. We're not going there. I'm not counsel, but I strongly doubt that we would ever consider that. But these are the types of issues that we're dealing with. And even at 3 per lot, there are challenges. It was pretty simple years ago where it was just the province saying you have to permit all single detached dwellings, you have to have an apartment. Municipalities would create the zoning and control that. But then more recently, they put in new regulations that say you actually can't control this and you can't control that. They're taking back some of those controls because I guess in part, some municipalities did put zoning provisions in place that would, in effect, directly or indirectly, prevent apartments from being created. So they've taken that away too. So things are moving very quickly, and I'm glad we have a zoning review underway.
How long do we think it's gonna take?
A year. Before the next election.
It will be in force, you think it would be applied before the next election,
Correct.
so it doesn't get politicized with,
Correct. We want it done by next October.
good thinking.
Because we don't want that, yeah. Any questions?
That's the ultimate NIMBY thing, the new council way.
Any
The
other
one thing,
questions?
I was just
Go
going to add, just so you know, we've sent at least the last 5 years of your decisions, the committee's decisions, to the consultants. So their job is to go through those decisions and take a look at the issues. And I mean, the most obvious thing they do is they look for consistencies. Oh, every meeting there's this regulation being applied for relief. That helps them focus on where there should be specific changes in the bylaw. So they have that, but again, if you have any specific comments, whether it be based on applications you've been considering or anything else as community members, please forward our way.
Yeah, I think that, I'm not trying to pump your tires up, but you've been a great help to us. You've been a very consistent, standardized voice that's in the know to help us understand what's going on in the province, to guide us with these decisions. So I think the history should be fairly consistent.
It should be. It's hard for, years ago, we would have a change to some planning regulation every 5 or 6 years. And now it seems like it's every 3 months. It's quite frankly hard to keep up with. So, but we're doing our best. And, it's all these changes are creating housing. Everyone, I don't think the members of the public, everyone seems to agree we need housing. Is just doing it the right way and the best way. That's the challenge.
Well, you have an activist in Queen's Park now too. So in terms of housing and development, right? So this is a different provincial approach than we've ever had for a long time, maybe ever.
Yeah.
I guess my question for Grant and Mark, because I know that you guys, to Steve's point, you guys do a lot of pre-work in here to get the applications to a point where they're easy for us to look at, and a lot of the biggest issues have been, ironed out. I guess my question going into this is, are you guys able to summarize issues that you see every time that you're having to vet out before they get to us?
Yes.
And are there issues that you guys are pulling out that the direction of the province is pushing you towards stopping and actually letting them go through? Like, I think one of the things that you don't want to say out loud in this room, but even if we didn't vote to push that through, this would be an easy application for the applicant to take. To override our decision. And you don't want to say it out loud, but the truth of the matter is based on what Doug Ford's done over the last 5 or 6 years, there just isn't, without third-party appeal and all of that stuff, it's it's hard for us to turn something down on for.
It's different now. The way we do things, it's a lot different as far as staff's role. Like this application, this last one we deal with for the last 3 years. Yeah, so when you take a look at it, there's been lots of back and forth, the applicant, how it first started to where we came back today. And the challenges are like, when you finally bring the application forward, I'm not gonna say you think things are gonna move fairly smoothly, but typically there's some challenges in the neighborhood that we need to address that we did anticipate. But again, people want to be heard, people want their, again, they want to be able to say, this is my issue, this is my concern. Sometimes what I find the public, they're okay with the decision in the end. They just want to heard and vocalize what their concerns are, say, it is what it is. I just hope to the point we don't get to where, hey, I told you so, because that means we're not doing our job or not making sure that those come on, it's like those easement agreements, right?
Yeah.
As though they're sometimes challenging.
Yeah, it's just understanding the prevailing themes that you guys are addressing, but does there get a point where it's like you guys are asking for something and an applicant with pockets just says, I hear you, but I'll take it in front of your committee of adjustment and I'm prepared to lose and appeal it to the province if I need to. I know that you guys are pretty nice and easy to work with. I'm just curious if there's prevailing issues that you've been dealing with that you're getting more pushback in that regard.
Density and parking. Density
And parking.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, let's go down to 0.85. Let's go down to, you know what I mean? So, yeah, so hey, can we fit 9 units on that development when, you know what I mean, and take our parking down to, so it's the biggest push that we get is about density and parking and what people want to provide. So we're gonna hopefully clean up a bunch of this stuff, make things easier. You know what I mean? It's, I hate to be kind of in certain neighboring shoes because this is something that we're just pushing it through or we're passing it through, and they're the ones that have to live with it on the street, next door neighbors, showing the laneway at Christmas time, whatever, during the snowstorm or whatever, right? And so sometimes it's not fair to them but how do you work that? How do you go through with that? Right? And I guess it's just the nature of the beast, I think, right? So that's where we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're gonna talk about the weather too?
Yeah, so another bill that came out last week, I think it was Bill 17. They talked a little bit about, and we can send an email out to the committee. They're basically saying the province has mandated that all.
Mark's still there.
Yeah, you can still hear us, right, Mark?
Yep.
Yeah, is that all side yard setbacks, all setbacks, depending on where they are, mainly residential, are going down to 90%. So when you're
within 10%,
what's that?
when you're within 10%,
Within 10%.
there's no application.
Correct, there's no application to committee of adjustment, right? So if we have a side yard setback of 1 meter, and they provide something that comes in at 0.9, we're okay with it, and there's no committee of adjustment requirement for that, even though, so again, what Mark has been doing a good job at, he's doing what we call cleaning up, or doing that housekeeping on that item. So if that application was part of that application tonight, he would still identify that as part of the minor variance. To say, you know what, we're gonna do a side yard issue
Yeah.
to make sure that's illegal and kind of go from there. So you might see some of that stuff like tonight, like even though it's permitted by the province, even though it's not permitted by the zoning bylaw, we'll still identify that on
You may
the
get
staff
thrown in
report.
the stew, eh?
Sorry,
You may get thrown in the stew.
that's right,
A single application, 10%, it's not gonna be an issue.
correct. So that's where we are, that's one thing that came out today, and what we can do, we can show some literature about, or sorry, earlier this week.
Can you just pause for 1 second?
Yeah.
The Jenna's computer,
No,
this is Jenna, that was the host.
So are we not being streamed?
Anything else, any other applications coming?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting ones?
Yes.
We like interesting ones, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Lukatosh is gonna have another application.
Who are these guys? I told them that all the people were here for them tonight, it was Park Lane.
I think we're good.
I think we're good. So we can push an email or communication out to the committee, let them know what the legislation says and kind of what it is, just to kind of give everything, but, there's a lot of things changing right now. Again, how we anyway, how we take in DCs, how we take in development charges, how we're operating as a municipality, as far as like planning is not the only thing that's sort of planning acts, is not the only thing that's kind of getting hit, the building code act and a lot of other acts and how we're being pushed as municipalities is changing quite a bit under the current provincial government.
Radical, they're radicalized.
That's all I have on those two issues. Mark, do you have anything to add?
No, nothing to add. Yeah, I mean, we'll update you next time with the 4 new regulations from the province, because it seems to be happening every day now.
Do you think we'll have another meeting New Year?
In the new year, correct.
Oh, sorry, just before we continue moving on, we need to pass that recommendation, that report.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Page 12 of 12. Item number 12. The recommendation that DEV.
Yeah. So the recommendation is that DEV 38/2025, the Town of St. Mary's zoning bylaw review and update project be received for information purposes. Mr. Galloway, second, Mr. Pickle. Any discussion? All in favor? Good, we go.
And then number 14.
And then we're adjournment.
And then adjournment, yes. Please.
Yeah. Get them over.
Yeah.
Mr. Bolton. Mr. Galloway, you guys good with adjournment? There we go.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
This is the longest meeting I've been in since I've been.
I'm trying not to